Welcome back to the White Gray Black Weekly Manga Podcast. This is the podcast where we talk all about your favorite ongoing Japanese manga. My name is Bruce. I am the proprietor of the White Gray Black YouTube channel. With me again this week is the ranger to my reject, Gautam.
What's up, people?
This week, it's all about Chapter 124 of Ranger Reject / Go-Go Loser Ranger, where we get the eponymous name drop and a potential resolution to our nearly year-long three-way battle arc. We're also going to be discussing Chapter 2 of Maid Skater, a cute little skateboarding maid series, and we will finish off with an emotional drop from Oshi no Ko. So stick around for all of that, manga news, and more coming right up. Ranger Reject 124 by Negi Haruba. This is the end of the arc. I think this is the end of the climax, at least. I think. This is
just have epilogue stuff left, and what a fucking climax! It was so good.
I mean, it's been the last 5 or 6 chapters, including the sort of flashback for the main bad guy here. But this is, I think, the end. This is sort of like we've trapped the bad guy. The Rangers defeated the big thing in the city, and I think there's going to be a little bit more falling action, obviously. I think we got kind of a little bit into falling action, but this is the resolution. And along with the resolution, we get the name drop, which is awesome. We'll get there soon. But yeah, Gautam, you and I both, I know, love Ranger Reject. It's honestly one of my favorite things to read every week. How'd you feel about this chapter? How do you feel about the three-way battle arc? Where do you think we go from here?
It's everything just excellent. Ranger, this is their best arc, and we said that about the school mystery arc before this because it was at the time. This topped it somehow. I thought it was great, and I loved this chapter, and I loved the ending of how they beat the big bad here, because it's all done through hoodwinks and wholesomely enough teamwork.
Yeah, it's classic foot soldier D shit. It's not. This is. And I hate to kind of use this time to poke a jab at Weekly Shonen Jump, but the editors at Weekly Shonen Jump would not let this happen. It would have to be a big climactic battle. And I'm very, very happy that they let Negi resolve this in a way that was not just a big action scene between the main character and the bad guy. It isn't really about opposing ideologies between those two. It isn't some simple thing. It's this complex thing that's resolved, in kind of a hoodwink. It reminds me... the closest kind of comparison to mainstream, I guess I can make. It reminds me of the end of the first Doctor Strange movie, where there's kind of a climactic battle, but really the climax is like Dormammu, I've come to bargain over and over, right? It's more of a battle of wits. It's more about Doctor Strange using his talents that aren't just fighting and casting spells. And it's the same thing here in Ranger Reject, right? D and Team Green wins, not through being better fighters at all, really, but through outsmarting, through understanding. And D, I think, probably came up with this plan. I think we'll see that in that I don't have to eat. So if he was fully an invader, he also wouldn't have to eat, but he's not fully an invader. We see that he still has his human sort of memories and emotions, and he gets called out for that. So they end up trapping him, and that's how they get him. And I like that.
I love how absolutely kind of brain-oriented the Green Squad is, because while D is crafty, I wouldn't call him intelligent.
No, he's not smart.
Yeah, he's not smart. But
he's underhanded. He's underhanded and sort of sinister and
slippery.
He's like a good pickpocket. Does that mean that they're a smart person? No, but they're good at what they do.
And I love that the green team is kind of aligned in that regard, where the green leader is an info broker on top of everything. So it's like it all just works out where they truly are the band of misfits who kind of got together and saved the day. And that's like a common trope used in everything. The band of misfits who come together due to circumstances and fix things. But this time it actually feels earned. I don't know. It feels like every single one of them have been established so well, and them working together after all of this also feels like earned trust throughout all of this. So I don't know.
And really the motivation we've got for Usakubo and Green Ranger, it reminds me actually a little bit of, you haven't read this or haven't read all of it, but it reminds me of Fire Force, because in Fire Force it's the same sort of band of misfits, the 8th Brigade and all that. But spoilers for like a little bit of the way into Fire Force, not super far. At some point, you eventually realize that the 8th Brigade has essentially been kind of a secret internal investigation squad trying to figure out one of the other 7 or 8 Fire Force squads they think is working with the bad guys. And so the 8th squad is actually the group that was put together to try to figure out which one and also do their job. And that's kind of, Green Team feels like that also, right? They're strictly sort of the like secret police of the Rangers, right? They're about investigation and subterfuge, and they're not, big flashy fight stuff off like Red Squad is. The Yellow Squad's kind of the science team. Pink is like, I don't know, healer support group. And Blue and Red are both just kind of like out there fighting. So I think it's great. I love the series.
I like how they did not keep the other Rangers in the loop at all. When the battle ended, Red is just more pissed than anything that someone else dealt with it before they got to it.
Yeah,
but this is a good page. You'd think we're real deal superheroes. I think that's kind of telling of how the Rangers see themselves, where they feel like they're grifting the system. Well, at least that's how I interpret it.
Yeah, and I also think I think you're right. I think there's also a level of, and we've gotten a lot of little foreshadowing and nods to it, but it's called out in here. I don't think I grabbed the page that mentioned it, but it's called out in this chapter that they're like, I don't remember if they call themselves like second generation or like copies of the original. Clearly something happened previously with sort of the original Rangers, which was a TV show only, or maybe not. We don't really know the full details on the quote unquote original Rangers. But we do know that this big bad guy was a fan of them. We do know that Red Ranger, they have like a conversation while they're fighting about like, oh, do you remember like, what's your favorite episode of the original Rangers TV show? They like have that conversation. And so I do think that this second gen of Rangers, and especially I think the second gen Red Ranger, has a sort of inferiority complex of knowing who the originals are. And there's a lot of details that are fuzzier that we don't know here. So I'm wondering, once we get a little bit more information. Yeah, I'm curious about if the original Rangers were like, maybe the original Rangers were the people that got turned into weapons. I don't remember what they were called, but like the one girl that's left over. I'm so bad at names.
I'm not even sure if the original Rangers existed, because they treat the TV show like a TV show. And
exactly,
like,
they could have just been a TV show. We don't know.
And like the Death Messiah, he was like, "Oh yeah, the Death Messiah was great at golf. The Death Messiah was great at this and that." It's like, and he was like quoting kind of tropes from the TV show, but in their universe, things aren't that tropey. So I don't know if this is just kind of a TV show that existed in a point of time that got turned into reality by someone.
Exactly.
Like
yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm very curious, because the reality they live in now clearly has sort of supernatural, magical elements. The invaders can do wild stuff. The Rangers can. The dragon artifacts, the weapons, whatever they have, are clearly magical. Those were made from people that we know were magical. So yeah, I'm super curious too. I think it could be anyway from the original Rangers were real Rangers with real magical powers and fighting prowess, and something happened to them, or it was just a TV show and something, maybe an invader made it real, or one of the Dragon Keeper abilities or weapons made it real. That's a thread that has been talked about, especially in this 3-way battle arc, but even a little bit before then. It's something that's got me really curious. But yeah, here's the when after the mention of, you'd almost think we're real deal superheroes. Yeah, you get Red here going like, you're right, this time they'll see us to be true heroes. And it's the name drop. He says, "Ranger reject, I'll never let anyone say those words again." Or if it's the English version, "Go loser Ranger, I'll never let anyone say those words again." We made a funny tweet about that earlier.
Yeah, go check that out. I gotta say though, this was a good name drop, but I'm actually surprised, because in my mind the Ranger reject had always been D.
Well, I mean, and Japanese is really good at this, better than English is at having these sort of multi-meaning, multi-layered titles. And I do think that because what we were just talking about, right? This sort of second gen of Rangers clearly feels some sort of inferiority to the first. I think we're going to get more revealed about, specifically, I think Red is the one that is sort of like worships the first gen of Rangers or the TV show or whatever you want to say. And so he doesn't feel like he lives up to that. So maybe, so he feels, I think,
about it for sure.
Yeah. And there's also, again, there's sort of more to the language here, right? The title of Ranger Reject in Japanese is like Sentai Daishikaku. And so he's probably saying in this thing, like Sentai Daishikaku, he's probably saying like Ranger that doesn't, I can't remember, it has some translation that's a little bit messier, right? It's like Ranger that's a mess up or mistake. But so he's probably just saying like a Ranger who makes mistakes. I'll never let anyone say those words, right? But in Japanese, there's all these multi-level sort of create your own noun title type things. So, Sentai Daishikaku, Ranger Reject. I'll never let anyone say those words again. I promise to be real. I surprisingly have really liked Red in the stuff that he's been in.
He's
just
more
as a
of
character.
Homelander parallel than he's more like Homelander from The Boys TV show than I thought.
He got a lot more interesting than he was at the start, where he was just sort of like, oh yeah, it's a Red Ranger, and he's like a little bit cocky, but he's still obviously like a good guy. And now it's sort of like, well,
I think he might have forgotten the part early on where he just kills his number 2 in command while they're eating dinner. Just like decapitates him or something.
Oh yeah, I do remember now that you said that. Yeah.
Either way, I think you're right though. Like it's he's very Homelander-esque, where he's insecure, but he's very powerful. So he thinks that he has a grip on everything. He's a leader. He's like in control of the Rangers. But in actuality, it seems like Yellow has way more information than him and is just kind of letting him do his thing and be the figurehead. While
Yellow. I
does all his sinister work.
I think what we're going to learn, I don't remember if this was implied or said directly, but I think what we're going to learn is that the current Yellow was a member of the original Yellow Rangers also. I feel like that was heavily implied in the stuff between him and the girl, where he was talking about creating the dragon weapons. I don't remember.
Yellow's definitely one of the bigger bads.
Yeah, more OG. He's definitely the sort of brains behind all of the bad things the Rangers are doing. Blue and Pink seem mostly either unconcerned or unconnected to it. Red,
Yellow's also a known sociopath. Based on
for sure.
The 3-way battle arc. So yeah, I think Red is just ego-driven, hot-headed.
Yeah, to compare it to like One Piece, Red is like, who was the guy that Luffy fought in Whole Cake?
Cracker Man?
No, the Dengo guy.
Oh,
I can't remember his name.
The guy with the big mouth.
Yeah, the guy with the big weird mouth. Anyways, the point of that is, in One Piece, that fight and that character is set up just the only thing that character is a physical, like a physical imposition, a wall in front of Luffy that he has to conquer to move on. To me, Red is that kind of character, right? Red is the sort of physical, you're going to have to fight this guy at some point to physically overcome him because he won't respect any other sort of like way. Now, Green Team and D, I think could outsmart him in some way again, but
it's got to be a hoodwink again.
Yeah, but he's just saying he's sort of he's the fighter, he's the sort of physical presence of the Rangers at its highest degree, and he's, from what we've seen, functionally immortal. Maybe, not sure about that. So,
yeah, I think so too. I think he's just immortal or has many lives or something like that.
Or something with his dragon treasure is giving them something like that. Yeah.
I love this beat here. There's a panel that we didn't include here, but it's
yeah, I got this is like perfect D. It's like, sorry to say it, dying is not my specialty. And this is where the big guys collapsed and Yellow and was this Yellow and Blue, I guess, are talking.
Blue, yeah.
And he's like, allow me to suggest a ludicrous interference. And it's like, somebody did us a favor and defeated Death Messiah's true form. And it goes, as if, right? Like, it's like, ha. And Red is like, they translated it as like, who the fuck? And then we get this goofy panel of D. This is my favorite page.
This is great.
Even with the title drop, this page is amazing. Yeah.
D is such an asshole about winning. I love it. I love how much of a sore winner he is. He's such a lovable shithead. This is the best panel. I mean, the best page.
Yeah.
And effectively the plot was they trapped the Death Invader inside this room that neither D or him could get out of, and it is revealed that.
Did Green create it, or did Usakubo? It was Green, Usakubo, or what's her name with the teeth?
I don't actually know.
I think Usakubo made it, maybe, but yeah.
Yeah,
with
but
the
effectively, they, in order to take 2 doses of the Invader serum to turn into the Giga Death Messiah, he wouldn't be human anymore. He would just be fully Invader.
You're supposed to, I think. It acts more like, in order to fully become Invader, you have to consciously fully give up your humanity, which is what the other 2 people we saw do earlier in the battle. So
he didn't take the full dosage.
Oh, is that what was implied? Okay, I missed that then. I thought that he took it and just was like, but I'm not going to give up my full humanity because I don't want to forget Eula Merida or whatever.
That's why he didn't take the full dosage, is because he didn't want to forget his waifu, and he wanted to keep his motivations that he had as a human, even while in Invader form. And for that reason, he still has the weaknesses humans do of having to need to eat. So they trapped him in this room, and the plan is they're just going to starve him to death. They're just going to be in there till he starves and dies. And this is the final page where him and D are talking. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, I also just love, like, this again just shows the sort of kind of nuance that's hidden in the series with Usakubo up there on the top left of, like, the long night comes to an end, a single tear overflows, but just who does the tear belong to, right? This could be her crying for her father who's going to die. This could be Eula Merida, who is inside of her crying for the man that she loved. So there's dual meaning here, a little bit more depth than you're used to typically seeing. And
Absolutely.
then we're back maybe next chapter to, what's this guy's name?
It doesn't matter. The live streamer Invader.
And the Pink's brother, right? Who they
and Sakurama is
Sakurama. There, I was like, I know it starts with an S. Yeah, Sakurama, who Pink Team thinks killed Pink Leader, although Pink Leader or Pink Ranger saved him using her healing powers and then died. So it'll be interesting to see the fallout of that. I think that it's funny that this is called 3-way battle, because I kind of feel like when we get to the
8-way battle.
What was that?
You kind of feel like it was an 8-way battle?
Well, no. What I was going to say is that I feel like the series is setting us up for another 3-way battle later on. And I think that later 3-way battle will be sort of D and his posse, and then the Rangers again, and then the third one will probably be Sakurama and the executives. Or maybe just Sakurama. I think it's going to be Sakurama and the executives, right? I think he's going to team up with them.
Yeah,
but
I think so. He's definitely going to go down the dark route.
He's definitely going to be the dark route, right? And he's set up sort of as the kind of opposite character path to D, right? D starts out, doesn't care about anyone, doesn't like humans, has clearly been growing in, I care about my friends, I care about Green Team, I care about doing what it takes to protect them, being a little bit more selfless, and he starts fully selfish. Sakurama's had the opposite thing, where he starts as this fully selfless, proper, amazing, friendly, nice human guy, and he's already pretty far gone, and he lost his sister, so I think he's going to end up being kind of a massively selfish bad guy. So I'm curious to see where that goes.
They are very good parallels. They both started out incredibly determined, still are, but they both started out incredibly naive to the ways of the world.
I agree with that.
And it's just they're growing in completely different ways.
I mean, it's literally
the reasons we mentioned.
Well, and this, I would say that this arc is probably sort of the halfway point, right? Where if you say that one of them started, how do I do this with my hands? One of them started sort of up high on the sort of I'm compassionate, and one of them is down low on the compassion, and then they're both kind of, D is rising and Sakurama is falling. And this is the middle point where they're both sort of like on their way somewhere else to sort of more or less compassionate, more or less sympathetic, that kind of thing. So this to me is kind of the middle point, right? Where D is now sort of fully committed to Green Team, fully committed to more than just killing all humans and Rangers. And Sakurama now has sort of lost his one main connection to humanity. He's not just all about good things. He's kind of been judged and outcast, fugitive style. So what an arc. I mean, like, this 3-way battle arc has been insane. It's been almost a full year of publishing. I believe this started in March of last year, and it's middle of January now. So
It was good shit. Also, I think this is the nicest outwardly D has been to anyone. This panel right here.
Yeah, he's being very sort of like. I think he doesn't. If I were him, I think he's selfishly saying like, I would rather not spend the next 3 weeks in here getting destroyed by a guy who's stronger than me. So yeah, if he just guy wants to talk, we can.
He's
talk.
being snarky. Yeah,
exactly. He's like, sure, man, you want to chat? Let's chat. Don't kill me, please. Even though
don't kill me
back,
over and over and over.
Yeah, please don't repeatedly kill me.
That's great.
Cool. Anything else on Ranger Reject? That's what a great chapter.
No, it was simply the best thing this week for sure.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't been reading it and are just listening to us talk about it, I think this is one you should throw on your list. And at the very least, you can brag to your friends about how you started reading it before the anime showed up.
Yeah,
made
exactly.
It popular.
This is me in every Discord I'm in 3 years ago telling people like Ranger Reject is great, Dan to Dan is great, Delicious in Dungeon is great.
And then one of those bastards comes out and recommends Ranger Reject. It's like, hey, have you guys ever heard of Ranger Reject? It's pretty good. It's like, you bastard! I've been saying this for years.
I literally, what was it? I think it was Oshi no Ko people were talking about over the summer. And I scrolled back in the Discord to like legitimately like 2 or 3 years ago where I was like, holy shit, Oshi no Ko is great. And like quoted myself or whatever. And was like, I told you guys, like, here it is 3 years ago. Like, Oshi no Ko is amazing. And just because the anime's coming out. But yeah.
I think like it's possible to be a manga reader who doesn't gloat about the source material, but there is that side in all manga readers and all humans. Actually, it's a human condition.
I think so. The hipster mental gene is present in everyone, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
It's even the same thing of like people who stick with sports teams for a long time, right? They're like, oh, I've been a fan of the Chicago Bears, even when they couldn't win anything, and then they finally won. It's haha, I told you, I've been with them the whole time. I was there, for years. I told you guys years ago that they could win, and it's like,
yeah. Exactly.
I mean, it's a universal experience for sure.
It is. Oh man, that's so funny.
Cool.
Well, great. Hey,
that's it for Ranger Reject. Let's talk about something else that was very cute and was a welcome return. So this is a series called Maid Skater by an author called Suzushiro. We got a one-shot of this like 2 years ago maybe, and then a chapter 1 got translated around the same time, maybe a year and a half ago. We got chapter 2. This one, Bruce? I did read this one, yeah. I mean, because I saw it pop up and I think it was top of Reddit, and I was like, oh, I like remember Maid Skater because it was such a unique idea and it was such a good chapter 1 that I hadn't forgotten about it the past 2 years. So chapter 2 came out and I was like, yes, I'm immediately back on board.
What'd you think?
I like it a lot. This it's cute, it's fun, it's funny, it's entertaining, it's lighthearted. It has the same kind of niche interest insertion as something like K-On!, which is one of my favorite series, or Eurocamp, where in K-On! it's music performance, in Eurocamp it's camping, in like how heavy are the dumbbells that you lift, it's weightlifting. There are these sort of like niche special interest things where someone knows a lot about some other hobby and they're like, well, I'm going to write a manga, and since I know a lot about this hobby, I'll put it in there as sort of the curious attractor, as storytellers like to call it. And so this one it's a maid series, but it's about skateboarding, and like, it's great. It has really good art, has really good action art and paneling, I thought. I think the characters are cute and fun. This chapter was nice. I'm excited to see if we get more chapters, hopefully. But yeah, what'd you think?
I don't know how to place it, but this art is just really charming. I don't know why I feel like it's different than standard fare. Maybe it's more cartoony. Maybe that's why I like it more.
It's really good facial expressions is what I'm noticing. Which I think which makes characters really expressive and easily attachable, and a lot of especially comedy and sort of lighthearted gag manga, they just kind of have like 2 or 3 facial expressions. They have like the sort of open mouth gasp, but here we have a lot of sort of like nuance in the facial expressions here. So and diversity in a lot of them. So I really like that. Yeah. I mean, in these 2 pages, she's got like 5 different expressions. Grief, right? Exactly. Yeah. She's going through a bunch of different emotions here, and we see all of them on her face. So
that's so good. Yeah, you're right. Oh man. I enjoyed it too. I think I think this is just a uniquely charming series. The combo between skateboarding and maids makes no sense at all. And I love it for that. And the manga kind of addresses this in chapter 2, where her friend, her friend takes her to a skateboarding shop because she lost her skateboard in chapter 1. And her friend's like, "What? A maid and skateboards go hand in hand. You couldn't be a good maid without having a proper skateboard. So we have to go buy you a new." Like, the author is basically saying, "Hey, in my story, maids and skateboarding are just a thing that go together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like this is how it is in this universe. Don't ask about this combo."
And it's such an easy like starting a story or before you've read something. Authors talk about this thing called like the strange attractor, or being able to pitch your story in an elevator in literally it's this crossed with this, or this meets this. And some of the greatest ideas in manga of the last couple of years are literally where it's this crossed with this, like out there in the open. And this like skate, was this called Maid Skate Maid? Maid Skater. It's literally spy X family. It's a spy who has to start a family. This is maids who have to skate. It is kindergarten teachers who go to war. Like all these just sort of like strange attractor of like, can you imagine kindergarten teachers who have to fight to protect? Can you imagine a maid who the culture of being a maid also involves skateboarding? Like it's a strange attractor, and you go, huh, that's a story I haven't seen. And never before have I seen skateboards and maids together. So this is truly original. It's an amazing strange attractor, and it's well executed. It isn't just cutesy nothing. I especially wanted to call out here on this page, on the second page on the left here, the sort of it's not still life, but it's very sort of no dialogue, just a sort of posing.
You
like
get a
almost,
feel for the shop.
Yeah,
right?
almost like a model, like drawing an art model in class or something, right? Where the model's in front of you posing and you're drawing them. It's kind of just that. And they do this for like a lot of pages. And I really like these pages because there's a lot of story being told in the way the maid sort of like takes her maid shoes off and puts her skate shoes on, ties her skate shoes, her showing them off here in this page, I think has a lot of personality to it. Excitement and stuff. There's a lot of good storytelling visually here.
And nice paneling on top of that. It's like it has a lot that works in terms of like, I guess, execution. And
good paneling is a good call out. Yeah, I mean the staging of this page in particular is really good. So
and here's another part where the author just says, "Hey, just go with it." And I love that. Because the skate shop owner has a full skate ramp. It's called a ramp.
A vert ramp, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just on the second floor above the shop, which is like,
and it's like gigantic.
No, but yes.
and they're like, who could have imagined that there'd be a vert ramp in such a shop? It's like,
yeah.
The author's just like, hey, just go with it.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's a very clear. Hey, don't worry about it. Just have
it's like if you can accept that maids require skateboarding, you can accept that there is a half pipe on the second floor of this skate shop.
It works.
We get some good character stuff towards the end of how the older, more senior maid talks about how bright and uplifting and also kind of troublesome the main character maid is, but it says, Iris Chan's the one who's been singing your praises. So yeah, good stuff. Yeah, here's more of these storytelling panels. Like I say, is Iris putting together the skateboard, and like this is where you really see that this author.
So tight.
Yeah, you really see this author is like they aren't just using skateboards as like a thing. Like this author knows about building skateboards because it's like applying I think it's called like grip tape or something to whatever the gripping stuff is on top of the skateboard, like cutting it with a razor blade. I think it's like tightening the trucks, putting on the wheels, and they like talk. There's a page I think at the very end, I don't remember if I included it or not, about like the trucks and the wheels mean this and this, and you tighten them and it does that, and it's it's like just like all the best of these, right? Like the Eurocamp guy is like, clearly that guy knows about camping solo or camping in like winter or whatever. The author of that, clearly the dumbbell guy maybe isn't the perfect, not the perfect weightlifter who gets everything right, but like clearly they know about bodybuilding and all this stuff. So I really, really, really like when you can tell that that an author has other interests other than just manga and whatever fantasy they've created, that they can really put into it. Another good example is like
shouts out to Witch Watch and the author's obsession with denim jeans.
Oh, really? That's hilarious.
Yeah. Just random chapters about it. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to call out something like Silver Spoon, where the series is about sort of agriculture and farming in Hokkaido, but the author clearly knows a bunch about cooking because there's a lot of good and accurate sort of cooking things that happen in Silver Spoon. You can really see that kind of passion coming through. So yeah, I absolutely love these pages. I think we got the color spread next. Yeah.
Wait, go back one.
Nope.
I there's a small gag here. I love how her friend does all the work, and you see her do all the work and through these panels. And she's holding up the skateboard, and she's feeling smug about it.
Yeah,
even though she did nothing.
Like my own skateboard. Yeah,
yeah. She's like, I did this.
Yeah, the good old dumb main character, which we love so much.
Yeah.
And then we get this pretty interesting color page. I don't know if the coloring is necessarily anything special for me, but still pretty good.
Yeah.
And then a good gag at the end where she says that she likes the way that the skateboard looks so much that she put it up in a display case, and it's like, it doesn't look like you'll be skateboarding much. Like, oh, you're right. So yeah, this is a wonderful, cute little series. I really hope we get more chapters of it. I think chapter 1 came out before we even started the podcast. So, easily.
Really?
I think it was like 2 years ago. Yeah. Let me check that. Cause Maid Skater. Let's see when chapter 1 came out. Maybe it wasn't that long ago. Oh no, it says 8 months ago.
It feels like longer.
So it felt like so long ago. Did we? We might have talked about chapter 1.
I think we might have. Yeah.
I wonder if the one shot is here.
It's hard to keep what we talked about.
Yeah. Okay. The one shot. Okay. The one shot was 3 years ago, so that might be what I'm remembering. Is that one shot that came out? Because I think chapter 1 and the one shot were similar, if not the same stories, or very close to it. So where she like falls in the river or whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else on Maid Skater chapter 2?
Nope.
Cool.
Let's go on.
Let's move on to big drama.
Big drama.
Yeah, Oshinoko is a big chapter. Gautam, you recently just caught up to this, the last 10 or so chapters. Why don't you catch us up on what exactly is happening with the production of the movie?
Yeah. So let me. I'm sure you and people listening have been keeping up. But I just caught up, so I'll give a quick recap. Basically, from last we talked about it, Ruby found out that Aqua was her doctor when they were in the past life. From there, you get a lot of story about their manager and the husband of the manager who dumped her with all the work. And he's rehired on to do his duties. They're not back together or anything, but he's lending a hand so she's not as overwhelmed anymore. And she's trying to do her best for Aqua and Ruby. And he mentions something. He mentions that he's worried about the kid. And the lady thinks she's talking about Ruby. Because Ruby had been acting pretty erratically. Light Yagami-esque to that point. And the guy states that, no, he's talking about Aqua, who's about to break. And that him breaking hasn't been delivered upon yet, so that's something we'll see. From there, Aqua talks to the little girl who is like a ghost or a god or something like that.
No, but she's real because she gets cast in the movie, right? Doesn't she?
Yeah, she does. Yeah, exactly. And
but she is some kind of
He taunts her enough to get her to act as the child role in the movie. Which is a funny gag because she's kind of this imposing godly presence that only appears during serious moments in the story. Yeah,
who's essentially responsible for the whole rebirth aspect of the chapter 1, and then they're sort of
presumably, right?
They're like recasting her. She's playing the twins, right, or some other kid. I don't remember who she actually got cast as.
I don't think they mentioned that yet. I'm not sure. Yeah. I think she's one of the twins, though.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, but
from there they all get working on the movie. Ruby is not a good actress, but she looks like Ai, and she is the perfect fit for the role because it's her mom. And I think a few interesting things to call out here. I think Kana is just a fucking hero. She, but we'll talk about her actually last.
I was gonna say she definitely gets called out because I grabbed some pages from that. So
yeah, because she has way more relevance in the latest chapter. So we'll talk about her last. So let's talk about Akane. I think she's actually a good fit for Aqua. Better than anyone else in the series, even though I think
as a partner / dating thing. You're saying?
Yeah,
yeah.
Because I think even though I like Kana better, I think Akane is just a better fit because Mem said something. It's like I just heard about their parents. I'm surprised that they bounced back. I'm happy that they bounced back. And Akane says they have not. They are very much dealing with their trauma to this very day. And I think that just shows, one, that they're both very damaged still, and two, that Akane understands their trauma to a level no other character in the series does.
Yeah, she's very much I don't know if she's necessarily broken in the same way, but she definitely feels the most like,
oh, she's insane.
Like, I get how broken you are because I am also fucked up. Like, you are.
Yeah.
The twins are. I see you being fucked up over there. Akane also fucked up. Yeah.
I don't know how to describe
Kana is not aside from, as fucked up, which is why she's
Akane
like
is the most unhinged, insane, well-adjusted person I've read. She's so well-adjusted and mature, but completely unhinged.
She's been through some stuff, she's been through some stuff, and it has affected her, but she has not come out the other end as a Aqua like maniacal Death Note type character. She's much better.
That's because Aqua helped her, and no one was there to help Aqua and Ruby. So they both feel, Ruby doesn't. Aqua feels like he's on an island. He has to figure out everything on his own. And Akane knows from firsthand experience that you can't live your life that way, and you can't succeed that way. Like, you can't fix everything on your own. You have to lean on people. Because she learned that firsthand, and she's trying to teach Aqua the same lesson.
Well, and I think that's a big, bringing that point around to the current chapter, this chapter 137, I think that's kind of a big part of Aqua and Ruby and Ai's kind of big arc, is that they're and Ruby I wouldn't necessarily say is a bad actress. I think what we're learning is that she doesn't fully understand her mother, but is beginning to, and is getting there slowly. But I think one of the big things that we learn in this chapter is that I don't remember if it's the director or one of the other guys. I think it's the director who says something about like, oh, she's almost got it, but like Ai's loneliness was way more than that. And so I think I think your point about needing other people around you to support you, I think it's one of those things where
it's the core theme, right? Like,
definitely, because Ai sort of loses herself and her life because she not necessarily,
she doesn't trust anyone around her.
Well, yeah, and it isn't all her responsibility of her alienating people around her, but it is her being so, she does push people away and kind of puts herself up on this pedestal as this sort of magical kind of idol god almost, that other people feel like they can't approach her, they can't support her, they can't help her. And so she separates herself and
I think it's the opposite, actually. Opposite, the same, you're right. But I think the message is actually the opposite, meaning that other people put her up on this pedestal as this invincible goddess.
It's definitely both.
And she has to meet societal expectations because there's no adult in her life at that point.
Yeah.
She got taken away from her mother, as you saw in the previous chapter. There's no adult in her life that isn't monetizing her talent. Mm-hmm. So,
well, and I think
every problem she has, every flaw, every human trait has to be buried under layers,
hidden behind those eyes is what we're seeing. And I think you're absolutely right. I think for me it's more of a chicken or the egg thing, where and we might learn which came first eventually. I'm not sure. I think it is probably that
I think they stated it in this chapter though,
that the outside
Ruby
pressure came
lashes
first.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Ruby-
then she pushes people away to rise to the occasion to be that on that pedestal that other people put her on. She says, "Okay, if I have to be on this pedestal, I have to
100%.
push all of you down to be here." Yeah, I think you're right about that for sure.
I'm positive it's that, mainly for two things. One, it's Ruby lashing out and saying, "You made my mother this way," after she understands her mother. And two is when they talked to Ai's mother. Her backstory was that like the person the mom was dating at the time had eyes for her daughter, and she was like an 8-year-old or 9-year-old, right? So
Yeah.
at all points, she has been perceived as this perfect, beautiful person, and is not allowed to process or have flaws. You know, it's a fucked up existence. And it's represented so well.
It's so good here. Yeah. And I love like these panels again with sort of this just narration over it here, where it's like talking about Ai, right? Like that's why she lied. A big lie that concealed her weak self completely. She always smiled and she never showed any negative emotions. She was beautiful, neat, and pure. She loved everyone deeply, regardless of their character, and would never betray them. She was like a pet that everyone loved. She was turned into an idol by beings that seemed to contain the ugly desires of such people. And we get this awesome panel. Mango Yokiari slays it again, of Ruby
Trauma
as Ai.
Sharingans.
Yeah.
That's what these are. These are like Sharingans from Naruto, but I realize I think at this chapter they're just trauma Sharingans.
It is. There's something. Yeah. It's kind of been explained, but I don't know if you can fully say this is 100% what it is. It is clearly a sort of the eyes kind of to me represent a kind of like an outward shield to protect against inner trauma, or like because Aqua has these eyes that get more intense when he is like containing his trauma or acting kind of lashing out against his mother's death, or trying to sort of, kill his dad, or, whatever kind of path he's going down. And we see it here now. These are kind of the brightest we've seen Ruby's eyes when she understands Ai more and kind of is lying more in her performance and giving a better performance. So there's definitely some connection there. This is an exceptional series and it's got a lot of shit going on in it. So
yeah, usually we only see it with Aqua until we got like Ruby.
Only in the past couple of chapters we've gotten it with Ruby. Yeah. But yeah, this is that little panel part that I was talking about where he says, talking about Ruby here portraying Ai, like she still has a long way to go. The loneliness that Ai was hiding in her heart was probably more. So again, Ruby not really understanding and coming to understand Ai as her mother. And which makes me curious if they, Aqua did not appear at all, I don't think, in this chapter. And I saw some comments about it and I was curious too of does Aqua understand this loneliness? He has definitely sort of separated himself from others in a similar way to Ai, but not exactly the same, right? He, instead of Ai kind of being put up on a pedestal and then saying, I am on this pedestal, I have to push everyone else down, I have to be this perfect person that they think I am. Aqua has kind of dug himself a grave and said, no, everyone else has to stay up here and be clean and be proper. He tries to not let Akane help him because he knows he's going to get his hands dirty. He does eventually, but he's trying to keep Ruby separate. He doesn't want to dirty anyone else's name. He said, I'm going to set myself apart and separate, and my shield against this trauma is going to be pushing people away because I'm going to do the dirty work. So it's this kind of a different but similar pushing people away as I had. So I wonder about
You're right. They're both Ruby and Aqua are both very lonely people. And they were lonely before they died and reincarnated.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's why they were kindred spirits, even back then. They both understood loneliness. Well, Aqua did when he was the doctor, and Ruby was a little girl. She couldn't understand, but she understands now.
And definitely what we see with her flashback and stuff. She was definitely lonely from her mom abandoning her essentially in that hospital in the middle of nowhere where Aqua was. So
either way, though, I think that Aqua is. I've been saying it, and I'll say it again. Aqua is not the manipulator he thinks he is, because it was like when Mem asked him. It's like, so are you he's like, I'm just using all this, right? He's like, are you using me too? And he's like, yeah, and you've been doing a great job. Yeah. And she's like, I'm glad.
This is
and I don't think a manipulator who is using people would tell someone they're using them.
Yeah, well, and it's also
He's
the sort
doing
of
this to put an arm's distance between her and him. So if he does something terrible, he doesn't want her to get impacted. It's just a kindness.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's sort of that is, I think, the great lie of Ai and Ruby and Aqua is that they think, especially I think for Aqua and Ai, is that they think, oh, I have to be this thing, and by pushing people around, I'm doing what's best for them and what's best for me. And Aqua, in the same sense, thinks by pushing people away and being this manipulator, or thinking I'm being this manipulator, I'm doing what's best. But they're not. But then there is also, and I think this is maybe what's different between Ai and her children. I think Ai maybe didn't have that sort of hidden kindness, maybe you could say. That's maybe not quite the right word, but I think separated herself fully, and I think really maybe truly believed, and as we can see in the flashback and talking with the older Bikomachi members, clearly hurt her fellow idol members, right? And they were extremely jealous of her, and she sort of didn't respond to them in a way that was kind, or she didn't help them in the right way, right? She didn't try to bring the team together. I think
she didn't know how.
Yeah, she didn't.
I think she was in a way worse position than Aqua or Ruby had ever been, because Aqua and Ruby have people that care about them completely surrounding them.
Yeah, and I think
they are just traumatized. Ai, on the other hand, was traumatized, and no one around her was there for her genuinely.
Yeah,
you know, it's,
and I think that also plays all the way back into how much she loved and doted on her kids because they were hers, and she sort of had somebody for a time, even if they were children. But I definitely think that that's the big sort of character progression, maybe not the right words again, but we're seeing that I sort of fell victim to tragedy by pushing people away and not having support. And I think by the end of the series, we're going to see Aqua and Ruby not falling into the same fate, even though they sort of get close or might seem to be going that way, because I think you're right. I think that they have a support system. I think that they have true kindness. I think that they are not as isolated and sort of pressured into being this lonely person that I was. And I think that that'll be kind of the true redemption for Ai and the family, is that she had and raised children who were able to make those connections when she herself couldn't make them. And I think that will be the real sort of redemption for Ai by the end.
And let's circle back around to one last thing about this is that this was a very positive chapter. Because even through all the drama, it was pretty positive, because the chapter before this, Ruby was very frustrated and crying because she couldn't get the acting right.
Mm-hmm.
And Kana was there for her, hearing her out, and she was very honest with Ruby that she was jealous of her, and that Ruby is Bikomachi. That's her vehicle for success, and everyone was just a side player. They forever would be in her shadow. And for that reason, she's jealous and envious, just like how people were of Ai. Mm. And she split off her friendship with Ruby, stating that resentment. But she did it because Ruby needed to know how it feels to have to smile through that kind of feeling, right?
Right, because she talked to the past Bikomachi member who said that, like, this is how I really felt about Ai at the time, and Kana was like, okay, Ruby has to know how that feels. I have to do this,
and she felt that way too. Like, so it was like honesty, but she was honest about it, but only because Ruby needed to hear it. Mm-hmm. So it's like she's as selfless as Aqua in that kind of way. But it circles back around to where Ruby sold the performance perfectly, and afterwards, her and Kana are talking. And Ruby said, hey, I'm different than my mom. I'm not going to smile through it. You're stuck with me, you know?
Yeah.
We're friends. You're stuck with me. I'm going to keep annoying you.
Yeah, well, and I think that's and I think, like I was talking about with the sort of like how Ai and Ruby and Aqua are different.
Are very different, yeah.
Yeah, and you're right that this is a more positive positive direction and a good turn for Ruby, especially as she says, yeah, I have the page right here where it's like, I've been trying hard to be an idol like Mama, but it's wrong. Mama and I are different. I want to always get along with my friends, and I want to be honest with my own feelings, as opposed to wanting to appease others the way that I did and put herself up on that pedestal because that's what other people wanted her to be, right? And not necessarily what she wanted. She wanted connection, which is, again, she wanted connection. That's why she had the kids at 16 or 15 or whatever it was, because she wanted someone to connect with. And the only way she felt like she could do that was probably to like let herself get manipulated into getting pregnant and then having kids. It's a very weird and twisted thing, but I think that's the character that I is.
Yeah, and she probably wants better futures for her kids and people who would love her despite the fame, like the real her. So I don't know. All of this is just so good. I think
it's so incredible.
Catching up. Yeah, my thoughts catching up on this is I was a little bit like unmotivated to read Oshinoko. And I think that feeling is because while I do really like the mystery elements of this series, I like more when they're used sparingly, because I think that Aka does such a great fucking job at getting down to the core nature of humanity.
Yeah.
And
also, Mango does too. I believe that Mango Yokoyari, the artist, is also heavily involved in the writing. Well, yeah, because she wrote, and because a lot of the stuff that's happening here really, really reminds me of Scum's Wish, which is the thing that Mango Yokoyari wrote. It is a lot about sort of like the trauma of these lonely people and how they connect. Scum's Wish is kind of very briefly about like high school flings and people trying to escape loneliness through sex only and not through a real connection. And does it work? Does it help? Maybe yes, maybe no. And it's a lot of kind of these same themes about loneliness and isolation and connection and how do you connect with people. It's a lot more based in sort of, kind of maybe not necessarily a younger demographic, but it's a lot more based in kind of like sex and how does that play into connection and is it enough and can it be enough and is if one person gets something the other person doesn't. And this is much more about performance and coworkers and a lot more deeper kind of exploratory stuff, but I can definitely feel Mango's hand in this writing also. So this feels like a true team effort between Mango and Aka because I can see both their fingerprints all over the story.
I completely agree, and it really does just I think speak to the human experience like I don't think most series do. I will say I was a little confused reading through the series like over the years as to what Ruby's kind of role in it was.
We talked about, I think even last year on the podcast at some point doing Oshinoko where we're like, it's very Aqua focused. Aqua's doing all this stuff. I don't know what Ruby's doing.
She was just there for a lot of it.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I even think so like our first really big blow up on the podcast channel was last year, which is why like What If Incest Was Good. You can go check that one out. That was last June or July. And that was sort of talking about one of the chapters that you mentioned where Ruby figures out that Aqua was the doctor that she had a crush on, was in love with. And even at that point, we were kind of like, what is Ruby doing? We don't really get it. What's her point in this? And I think that
she's the heart of the series, and she's the only person. She's the only character that acts like a kid because in this industry, people have to mature too fast in order to not get hurt or manipulated. And Ruby is still just a kid. And I think that's why that's why she's like the heart of the series. She kind of mentions multiple times that she like in her own head that she's too honest. And that's what's sweet about her. Right. Mm-hmm. And this is one of those situations where she is incredibly upfront and honest in an industry where people would probably use double talk or speak around feelings like this.
Yeah.
And or not mention it, or lie.
Yeah, I think you're hitting exactly on the qualities that set her apart. And I think that her big role, even in the sort of grander scale of things, is she is more who I wanted to be. Right. And sort of, and that is kind of her purpose is to be the person that her mother wanted to be. And I think that she will make it through this.
Bruce, that just connected synapses in my brain. I didn't even put that together.
This stuff
You're
is
right.
connecting for me having this conversation because there's a lot going on in Oshinoko to connect. So yeah.
That you're 100% right. This is who I actually wanted to be.
Yeah, she wanted to have friends. She wanted to not give up. She wanted to be close to people, and she couldn't because of all of those reasons we discussed. And again, in all these pages right here, right? Like Mama and I are different. I want to always get along with my friends. I'll be a star in my own way. I won't be like Mama. I'm not going to give up on my friends. Whereas we see, a couple of chapters ago, her mom, being mean to her Bikomachi members, her fellow idol members, because that's what she thought she had to do. Ruby is specifically saying like, that's who my mom was, and I don't want to be that. And I think part of it, maybe not all of it, but I think part of it is in her exploration of her mother. She will realize that her mother wanted to be this person but couldn't be. I think she realizes maybe a little bit of that in this chapter, but maybe not fully. I'm wondering how long it takes to get there. Premiere the movie next chapter, who knows? But I think that's the real key, is that I think Aqua has to be sort of
you're right.
Now
Actually,
I'm
you're
kind of
right.
confused about how Aqua's stuff is going to end. I always thought it would be he tries to go too far, but then realizes, but Ruby comes and saves him or something. But now something like that probably still.
This is actually kind of all stated. So the director said that Ruby has a long way to go in understanding her mother. So, but she understands the loneliness aspect of her to a degree now. So I think she'll understand more as she continues the movie. In regards to Aqua, Ruby's in a good place. Like, as far as these characters are concerned, she's like in a pretty.
She's made a decision to be who she wants to be, to fulfill her own kind of self-fulfillment needs, and to not try to do what other people want her to do. And yeah, that's of all the characters in the series, she's like easily the most kind of self-fulfilled already, just in this chapter, right? Like everyone else has other people pressures going.
I think her and Kana are probably the most well-adjusted, kind of mainly because she's being honest and tackling things head on, and Ruby for the same reasons. Actually, Aqua is spiraling out of control as always.
I still think so. Yeah.
And the husband who left, the old manager.
Yeah.
He stated that Aqua was the one who's about to break. I think that's very.
I don't think I read that page, but yeah, I do remember that from this. Yeah.
That's very telling, right? I think it's he's been on a spiral. He's continuing to spiral, and I think by the end of the series, he is going to be in such a spot of self-isolation that everyone will need to kind of be there for him. And that's how it's going to go, I think.
All the people who he helped out will come and sort of help him out when he needs it. And I think that's a really good guess. I definitely do think that I don't think you can resolve the story where it is now with one of the kids not being a part of sort of Ai's redemption, right? Because she's a small.
I think Ruby. Yeah, I think both of them will be.
Yes, well, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying, right? Is that I don't think that you can have Ruby be sort of like Ruby is who her mother wanted to be and has friends, but then Aqua goes bad, breaks bad, and dies in the end. Like I don't think you can. I think both the twins are so connected to parts of who Ai was and her sort of character, and the kind of.
I called this a while ago. It has to be a happy ending. It just has to.
Or like at very least bittersweet in the sense that they understand their mother, but then they don't agree with that. What they know that she hurt people or accept that she hurt people or something like that, right? Like that might be the kind of bittersweet, but I think it's
hurt people. She didn't hurt people, in my opinion.
I mean, the Bikomachi members that she was with, she clearly hurt them in ways.
I mean, like, I feel like
alienated them. I guess maybe
alienated them for sure. Yeah. But it's like her friend freaked out at her because she was jealous, and it came from self-image issues, of course. Yeah. Understandable, given the industry and the people surrounding these people. But Ai's response was just to smile and not let it faze her, which hurt the person more.
Which is like, frustrating for the person, but yeah.
But that's Ai's self-defense mechanism in action, right? That's she wasn't trying to agitate her friend.
She can't climb down off her golden pedestal to rumble in the mud like the other people want her to. She can't let herself do that.
She can't let the walls.
She has to stay up. She has to stay up on top of the walls and be isolated, but in order to be who she has to be. So yeah.
yeah, in order for her identity to stay intact, her self-worth, everything she built, she has to keep the walls up, and she does. And it's just fucked up and lonely. I get it. Man, Aka and Manga, what a team. They really get it, man.
And this was such a good, yeah. And the wild thing is that I don't think we could have had this conversation 1 or 2 chapters ago. That's how sort of like rapidly things are changing and how they're able to tie all these loose ends together with a chapter like this, where Ruby comes out and says, I won't be like my mother. She was this kind of person and I want to be somebody different.
I agree.
But yeah, I'm curious.
It's a culmination of, it feels like there's like even dialogue that you think would just be filler dialogue to kind of meet a quota. It doesn't, it circles back around to the core themes.
Yeah, I did not read Scum's Wish by Mango. I watched the anime of it, but I can say for Aka, I mean, Aka's like the master of dialogue,
dude's a pro.
Right? Like maybe second only to someone like why am I forgetting the Monogatari author and Software Academy? Nisoi Isin, right? Nisoi Isin might be the master of dialogue, but he's more of a kind of pun, hidden meaning type thing. Yeah, the dialogue, maybe it's just good translators. Again, the translators I think are doing an excellent job on Oshinoko since they picked it up. So yeah,
I think everyone's doing a great job and it's showing. You know?
Yeah, and the art is great. And like we talk a lot on this podcast about how we wish that the good writers would just go write manga and the good artists would just draw it. And this is a dream team. And I even like that Mengo, like I said, clearly has her fingerprints in this also, because she's able to definitely put some influence on these characters and the story and everything. So yeah, I mean, this is a deserved nominee for Anime of the Year, Oshinoko, and potential winner. I would say it probably loses to Jujutsu Kaisen, but that's because you can't beat the Shonen Bros. So
I get it. Not everyone wants to read a story about the entertainment industry or humanity or
Also, the anime last year was great. Probably the best opening anime song of last year, but
I still gotta
the most influential one released, I would definitely say. Idol by what's the name of it? I don't remember. The song's title is Idol, but anything else on Oshinoko? If we can go to a quick little news recap and then
let's
get
go
out
for
of here. Cool. The big news, get your poppers ready. Monogatari, 2 more seasons announced, off season and monster season. These are the last last quote unquote 2 unadapted Nisoi Isin Monogatari books that have not been animated by Shaft. Shaft announced they are doing it. Off season is a bunch of side stories, and Monster Story is Araragi in college. I'm fucking hyped for this. The more I think about it, the more I think the Monogatari series is probably my favorite anime of all time. I'm super hyped for April. We are getting the Kizu sort of remake single movie coming to the US, so I'm definitely going to go see that. So this is big news. I saw this all over my timeline, probably because I liked like 8 tweets in a row and was like, oh, this guy likes Monogatari announcement things. But yeah.
Too many things named Monster, but I'm surprised Araragi made it to college. That's good for him.
I mean, yeah, he's practically immortal, but he if you watch the seasons, he dies, quote unquote, quite a bit in those seasons. So I'm not surprised that he made it that far.
Oh, I just mean I'm surprised he's intelligent enough to do the thing. I always thought, I haven't seen it, but I thought he'd be like a dumbass.
He's not. Yeah, it's so hard to like describe Araragi in a few words because he's complex. He's such a well-explored character. It's like, well, I can say that he's an idiot sometimes, and he loses his composure around girls he finds attractive, and he doesn't, he isn't a good. He's
a piece of shit.
No, he's not. He goes out to be a problem solver, but he's not a good problem solver. So he ends up kind of strong arming stuff, but it usually ends up working out one way or another. He is not outsmarting.
That's fun.
I think he's easily maybe the most well-developed character in anime I've ever seen. Like Araragi is, all of the characters in Monogatari are exceptional. I
love the kind of trope where there's a character who is competent and trying their best, but is hammering nails with a saw. You know,
that is very much what Aragi. I mean, Aragi has vampire superpowers. He goes up against these things. There are all these girls who are possessed that he has to help, and he does not know how. And he asks for help, and he gets cryptic answers. And he goes, "Okay, well, that didn't help. I guess I'm just going to go and talk to them or face them down and see what happens." So
I love that. Yeah,
he's really, really good. I love the Monogatari series. I'm excited for this. Part of me wants to do a full rewatch of the series, but it's a lot of content. I think there's like almost 100 episodes now with all the side and ending stuff, but it's great. So cool. I saw this on Twitter, and it was a pretty cool thing to see. There is an account / podcast crew called the Weeb Crew, and they developed and started a site called AniTubeList.com. That is a list of a bunch of anime and manga YouTubers. I tweeted at them. We aren't on there yet. I said, "Hey, we've got 16 months of manga podcast under our belts, and we're not on there. And I, have made 2-3 pretty good manga videos. So hoping to maybe get another one out eventually. Job search right now, but yeah, pretty cool site there. You can find a lot of smaller people, everyone from Giguk and the Anime Man, who are arguably the largest, to a lot of smaller content guys are on there. Hopefully we'll show up on there eventually. Hopefully not too long. I've been checking every day because it's like, I want to be on there. Because any discoverability is good discoverability. I think this is a great idea, just to grab a sort of niche and say, and there's a lot of these smaller creators, kind of travel in the same circles. So yeah, it's a great idea. I wanted to support it and throw it out there. So yeah, AniTubeList.com, go and check that out. See if you can find some more content creators to support.
I'm looking at the manga list. There's this channel called Naruto Explained with 200 million views.
Mm-hmm.
What is there about Naruto that needs to be explained?
Well, that was my exact response: is what needs to be explained about Naruto? It's probably more about power systems.
It's just a name.
I don't know. Yeah,
I'm sure they have conversations about top Naruto topics, and nothing's really because nothing about Naruto is really complex. That it needs to be explained.
It's a simple thing for sure. Yeah. What else we got?
I just saw it, and I wanted to give them a quick razz along the way.
There's a little bit of razz. I mean, yeah, we flew under the radar, but we're also very small. So maybe if we're a little bit bigger, we'll show up on there. More news. The Promised Neverland artist, Demizu Posaka, is going to publish a new choose-your-own-adventure style interactive webtoon manga based on the game Orain titled Misanga Route on Jump Plus. So apparently what I read about this is that this is going to be a webtoon-style comic where I don't know if it's going to be necessarily weekly or bi-weekly or what's going to happen, but there's going to literally be a vote at the end of every chapter or some chapters where the audience can choose, which path the person takes. Kind of a throwback. Idea. Yeah, I think this is a fun idea. This is kind of a throwback to Jason Todd, Kill 'Em or Keep 'Em Alive, back from the 80s.
Oh, right.
Where DC literally said, call this number and tell us whether you want us to kill Jason Todd, and bloodthirsty as the human beings are, they fucking killed Jason Todd, which is great though, because that's one of the greatest.
It's a great decision. Yeah.
It was a good decision. It led to some great stories. We wouldn't have Hush or what the fuck
crowbar scene.
The crowbar is iconic now, yeah, and it's definitely been used. Yeah, we wouldn't have the what's it called? The Return of the Joker, Batman Beyond movie has a lot to do with that. Anyways, I think this is really interesting. I'm really curious to see how they do this. I hope that they publish this in the West also, so that we can also vote. I think that would be very cool. Nice. Let's see. Plus-sized elf anime officially announced. Teaser visual air date 2024. This is based on a lewd fantasy comedy manga by Synecdote about a chubby elf in modern Japan. I have seen this around in manga circles. I had never read it. Gautam, did you ever check out this chubby elf manga?
No, one of my friends really likes it.
Okay, I've heard good things about it.
He also is a fetishist. So,
okay, yeah, that's fine.
I am unsure if this is just about a chubby elf and it's a slice of life thing, or if it's a fetish thing.
From what I understand, there is a healthy chunk of ecchi in this. Though I haven't read it, so I can't speak entirely on it. But I'm fairly sure that's definitely an angle that it's doing. So
hey, fair enough. I think there are a billion manga that explore the most niche of fetishes, so there should be a plus size elf in modern day Japan as well. Yeah, that seems having a girl who's not by American standards pretty average, to be honest. But by elf standards, by elven Japanese standards is what were they, plus sized? I guess they could say. Yeah.
But yeah, what else we got? I have a note here. Asadora by Naoki Urasawa, my literal favorite author who does Monster, 20th Century Boys, Pluto, is going on a break to prepare for a new story season. I just wanted to call this out because I want other authors to do this, and we talk about this point into the dirt as much as we can. He's taking a break because he needs to plan ahead and write what he's going to write next. And it's like, cool. Every author should do that. Like, imagine if Hori from My Hero Academia got to just take a break and plan where his story was going. Maybe it wouldn't be dog shit now. So all this to say, manga authors should be able to just announce that, hey, we're going on hiatus for, 2 months, 3 months, and when we come back, we'll have our next story planned out, and it'll be really good.
This is a privilege based on.
I mean, absolutely. Naoki Urasawa was, one of, if not the most well-regarded, well-renowned author in manga. So, yes, and he's allowed to do this. I think Oda from One Piece,
Huntrix, Togashi,
Oda.
Well, Togashi does do it.
Togashi's a little bit different. His is a hell thing. He isn't just saying, "Hey guys, I need 4 years, and I'll give you 1 chapter to plan my story." Surely it's got to be planned out by now. Right?
Oh, I'm not talking about the reasoning. I'm just talking about the level of lenience given to
the
Urasawas, the Togashis, the Odas of the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think they're afforded to anyone who isn't immensely successful. Is it Ruri Dragon? They are allowed to take health breaks, but I think not popular manga are absolutely just going to get shit canned.
Yeah. Well, and even the author of Frieren, whose name I've forgotten, they took a break, last year around this time at the beginning of the year, which I think was mostly to help work on early development of the anime. But, they took 2 months off, 3 months off, and then came back, and it is, still been good since then. So you're absolutely right that, the more popular you are, the more you're allowed to do this. My take is that
good for him.
Yeah, my take is that everyone should just be allowed to do this. Like, I mean, even
PTO.
Tatsuki Fujimoto's Chainsaw Man, right? He writes 96 chapters, 94 chapters, and then says, okay, I'm taking a 2-year break. I'm going to write some other stuff, and then I'll come back with the next part. It's like, just let authors do this, and we get better stories for it. So that's the point.
Yeah, I think Fujimoto did it intelligently, where it's like, you could end Chainsaw Man there and not have a season 2, and it would feel like a very good ending.
Absolutely.
But yeah, anyway, I more or less I agree with you. They should 100% have these breaks.
There was a new series on Jump Plus for us called Girl Meets Rock that released 4 chapters. Did you happen to read any of these, Gautam?
Is this Bocchi? Bocchi the Rock?
It's the best way I can describe it is it is budget Bocchi meets budget K-On meets the budget main character from Skip and Loafer, and it doesn't do any of those 3. Rough. It doesn't do any of those 3 better than those 3 do it. So
those 3 do it so well.
They do their own things very well, and it's a crossover, all those things, and it isn't super exceptional. I didn't love it. I thought it was okay. It certainly isn't bad. I'll stick with it for a couple more chapters and see, but just letting people know that's out. All right, last thing on the news here is I don't remember if we did this last week or not, so I threw it in here. The Oremo creator Tsukasa Fushimi's new twin sibling incest rom-com light novel, My First Love Is So Embarrassing That I Can't Tell Anyone, is getting a manga adaptation in Young Animal in spring. So that is coming up soon. More Oremio. I think this is, we did talk about this. Did we talk about how it's like a body swap, like twin sibling incest thing?
Friday.
Yeah.
An Oshi no Ko that leans into the incest of it all.
Yeah, that's what if I got another thumbnail brewing. What if incest was mediocre? I'll get some more clicks on there. Cool. That's it for the news. Gautam, let's see. I'll tell you what I've been doing this week.
Sure.
Other than applying for jobs, being out of work. I have been catching up on Dimension 20, Fantasy High sophomore year.
I love it, man. I've watched both seasons a few times.
I had the first season is one of the best live play things I think I've ever seen. It grabs you really quick. I think the first 2 episodes really, really do it for you. And then it's just, rip roaring fun all the way through. I've seen lots of the other D20 stuff. I like all of it to varying degrees. Sophomore year has been really good. I do think it was a slow start. It was kind of the same as Unsleeping City for me. Like, it took a while to get going. I stuck with it. I had it in the background. And then they sort of get to where it's like, here's the main bad guy. Here's the plot. Here's the point. And I'm like, okay, yes, I'm there. I get it. It was kind of the same with this season for me. I think I have one more episode to watch, which I'll probably watch tonight, the very last episode. So it was kind of the same here where it's like, you know, they dither around, they do stuff, and then once you get like, okay, here's the main bad guy, here's what's going on, here's what's happening around episode like 8 or 9, you're like, okay, now I'm in, now I want it, now we're going. All the stuff when they go to hell has been great. All the stuff with everyone's dads has been great. That's like a lot of the series is just like people and their dads. It is dad
stuff. A lot of dad stuff.
It's like it's like 5 or 6 different dads in the season. Or no, it's like everyone but Gorgo's dad is involved in this season. So
and all the dads are great.
Yes, they're all good.
They're all very. It's just a very funny. Brendan Lee Mulligan is one of those people who I've been watching for a while, and it's like he's an ego check of a human being, because if you ever feel like high on your own supply or incredibly confident, you can just watch Brendan Lee Mulligan at work and rightfully humble yourself. The dude is immensely talented.
He's like, okay, could you play 20 different characters, each with individual characteristics and accents, which you can call out without seeing him performed or seeing a visual of them, and tell a compelling story where 6 other characters all have like fully realized character arcs. Yeah, he does this like every season of D20, right? Is that he lets every character have their moments. He's easily the best D&D. I think D20.
He's so quick and funny too.
Like, he
has everything going on. Yeah.
I like him more than Matthew Mercer. I think that is a preference thing. I think Matt Mercer is also an amazing storyteller and stuff. I just think Brendan Mulligan just is a better fit for me. But
I need that amount of goofs in a D&D story. Critical Role is a bit too serious.
It does get goofy, but I can't. My problem with Critical Role is like, well, I want to start from the beginning, and the first like.
That's also
28 hours of that series are like impossible to get through. It's like so low quality, very difficult recordings, but it's like, I don't want to miss it. Maybe I'll watch the TV series.
They have some good goofs too, but I think there's a goof to serious ratio where I prefer it to be more of a 50-50 than like an 80-20, which is like,
it's also, right? Critical Role definitely, I think, as voice actors and performers are very good at performing their characters, but something about getting 7 improv actors and comedy writers and comedy actors doing D&D together and letting them do serious moments it's something.
It feels
special.
it feels like I'm at the table when I listen to Dimension 20. Whereas Critical Role feels like a compelling story.
Yeah, you're watching them play. Whereas D20, you're like, I'm there with these people. Like, it's great. So that's what I'm doing. Gautam, what have you been up to?
That's really good. One last thought on that. I do think Brendan Lee Mulligan is so immensely talented and great that the other folks at the table don't really get the shout outs from the public that they deserve. Like Zach Oyama, Murph, Emily,
like literally everyone at the table is great. Like I was even annoyed with Fig, what's her name, in the first season. I was like, man, this girl like steals the spotlight a lot. And now it's like, I don't know. It's like I expect her to, that is more of like her character than her actual persona, I guess, where it's like, I expect Fig to try to like act out and do whatever she can to win and to like table check and rule check Brennan. And it's good. And I like it now. And when I didn't like it at the start. But yeah, it's
you should listen to Not Another D&D podcast. It's Murph, Emily, and a few other people.
I knew that they ran their own. Really that was good. Yeah, I should listen to that. Yeah, because I do like Murph, especially this season with Riz, has been like excellent. Like he was definitely kind of a little left behind in season 1 compared to other people.
I felt that way too.
But in this season, he's like the main character. He's like the star, which is great.
He's the DM. He's insanely good as a DM. Like very good. But
I would like to see that because I like him as a player a lot. So.
Mine's a quickie. I watched Delicious in Dungeon Meshi episode 1 on Netflix. So very good. So very good. Feels like I'm hanging out with my pals again.
Happy to hear it. Yeah, more D&D essentially, right? Dungeon Meshi is the D&D anime really just about.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. So that's all I got. I've gushed about Dungeon Meshi over the months enough. Go check it out. Go support it. It's super good.
We talked about the finale of it back in, when was that? September, maybe?
2 months ago? 3 months ago?
August, September, October, around there. I think it was September is maybe when that ended, or maybe July or something. Go check it out. It's in the archives. It's back there if you want it. Cool. I guess that's it. Hey, thank you again for listening and watching, everyone. Don't forget to give us positive feedback. That means give a like and subscribe on the page. Hit that little bell to be notified once a week when we go live with new content. Check out Twitter and Patreon, which is linked in the description. Thank you again for being with us this week.
I'll catch you later, guys.
And don't forget to read more manga.